Session 3 of Rift of Nations. We just finished. It's like midnight right now. Everybody just left. Super excited to have everyone, everyone together with our new player that we added in. We had to, if you didn't see the last update, we had to take out the character Odin, the Keymaster, basically monk type character. That player had to drop out for real life reasons, and we brought in another player who is one of the main players from my 3-year-long campaign. So super excited to have him back. He is going to be a Battlemaster fighter, which fits in amazingly into this new into this campaign. The campaign setting, Kingdoms at War, a battlefield tacticianer. How perfect is that? He's from the Mountain Nation instead of the Cold Nation, but that's a whole video. I have a whole thing on their backstories I'll have for all of that. So now this is the first session with the new character swap, basically, because and that's what I have. The first thing here on my little thing is right there from the pregame prep notes. These are my Dungeon Master notes I do on Notion. Quick shout out there. If you want access to all of these, I have a full log of everything. If you want to see the full picture of these notes, you have access to them on my Patreon, different things in there. So anyway, I'm going to try and give you guys the full behind the scenes on all this type of stuff. But I have the Billy's relationship retcon from session 2. Basically, one of the NPCs formed bonds with some of these characters, and through that bond, they were able to pass on through the military, because how the military worked is there's 40 different troops. The bottom half got cut, but the top 4 trainees were able to pick one of the bottom trainees to be able to save them and take them on to be a part of the team with them. So Billy chose this new character. So that was the one retcon. I had to switch Odin's character, the one that left, with Ivar, the one that came in. Billy's now friends with Ivar, the new character, so that makes sense that he saved him. That was the one retcon that we had to do. Everything else has been, now the group's now together as 4 as usual. And then now before I go through the little mini breakdown here of how things went, I'm interested, comment down below how you guys see this series going. Do you want to see what I thought was going to happen and then what actually happened, or just kind of how I've been doing it, of giving y'all the full breakdown of how this goes? I'm also going to try and do game prep stuff. I'm going to try and do that in the live streams, so you can actually see it happening live, of how I do all my game prep, so you can actually do it the same, not do it the same yourself. You can see it how I do it myself in the creative process, because I think that's really important. So getting into it, this is the flashbacks. I did a whole flashback sequence to kind of catch Ivar up. We had a childhood scene when he was like 10 years old and all the rest of his family. He's one of 6 kids, so I really wanted to get that feeling across of that crazy big family. And a lot of some stuff having to do with some of his plot hooks I have to do with his family. I have his mother involved in a plot hook with the church, his father involved, or his oldest brother involved with a plot hook of this disease that's spreading throughout the land. He's sick at home with that. He has some of his friends and family, or his girlfriend, his best friend, and his sister are traveling with him into this Tech Nation. They're part of the Tech Nation army now with him. So I had to make sure to weave those characters in there to give them some sort of importance there. So each of these scenes, one of them 15, 16, 17, each with his different little flashbacks. So I had a little spotlight for this player. I told the other players beforehand, we are kind of in a little new territory here with a player swap, so that was understandable, and they were down for it. And now Tech Nation, right? They joined the Tech Nation. This is now this is 9 months ago, because where we left off session 2, at the end of session 2, they were in the final trials going for the big combat thing. So with this new character swap, I wanted to rewind, have a little flashback of getting the character up to speed so they get the full flavor of it. They're joining in, and now I sprinkled back in the other players. As another side note, one of the other players, Clara, the artificer, was not able to come to the session. She was out of town in Michigan, flying back in a plane whenever this whole thing went down. But I didn't want to cancel a session, again, for the same thing. We have 4 players. If one of them's missing for whatever, we still play. And I think that's an important thing, because we wouldn't have been able to play. So always play, guys. Always play. Anyway, so we kind of had a little rewind, introduced into the Tech Nation. I sprinkled back in the other 2 characters, the wizard, aka warlock, and the barbarian. I sprinkled them back in, gave them some more flashback scenes, so they're not just sitting there watching the new player go through all these things the whole time. So I sprinkled in some individual stuff with them and role play stuff with both of them all together to reestablish and make sure that I hold myself true to that standard of role play. I really do want my players to feel connected to their characters, and then that feel that their characters are connected to the other characters. And you mainly do that through role play and combat, but I knew there was a big combat happening at the end of the session, so we'll get to that. We did a little recruiter thing with the Ivar checking in with the recruiter, which was the same recruiter that the Q talked to, the barbarian talked with, asked him all the same questions, but it was pretty funny. Darius got a little role play moment. Q got a little role play moment. And then we started the boot camp. This was the one-on-one stuff. We went back and forth. And all of these things now, not to go into each individual detail, all I did was give a couple more scenes of different characters paired up with different characters that are important. I paired them up with each other across the table. I paired Ivar, the new character, so I'm just going to call them by their class names. I paired the fighter with the barbarian, gave them a little scene. I paired the fighter, again the new character, with the wizard, gave them a little scene, and even gave them a scene with the player that wasn't there that I set up through video chat and stuff. So all of that went off super awesome. That kind of got everybody into the flow of it. And then I threw a little mini combat thing at him. It was like a challenge where it was like this obstacle course type situation. I described it to him. The DC was 18. What are you going to do to beat the challenge? And they all described it. Some of them did strength based stuff. Some of them obviously did dexterity based stuff. So it was cool to see, let them describe their failure or describe their success of however good or bad it went. Because you don't want to have too much role play and then they're not like doing active stuff. They're not rolling for stuff. You want to keep that going, right? And in this time, there's not a lot of exploration I can do because they're in a training facility. So I'm going to really dive into exploration a little bit and keep the big picture going with all of this. And then had some interesting little plot hooks that I added in there. Little secrets, little stuff I sprinkled in there. See, I don't know if they even noticed it. We'll see that. And it was really cool though to bring Ivar, the new character, along through the journey here to get everybody caught up. And I explained some of the bigger points of the story so he's up to speed and he kind of remembers all these things. Whenever they say like, "Oh, remember back whenever this happened," he's gonna remember those moments. And then then we had the big final trials. We got everybody all caught up to speed, and then we were now live. We were now like current with what was in the campaign at the end of session 2. We are now picking right up and going right into it. They had all to finish their social espionage scenes, the 4 different ones they had to do there, and then they go into combat, right? So there's kind of some of the full spectrum. We did a lot of role play. This was a very role play heavy session, kind of to catch up the new player, which is understandable. And then we had a big 4 versus 4 combat session, which was, there's point totals to be scored. Every standing individual was worth 10 points. So if you had a full team up, it was 40 points. I had a whole point system that I built up. 100 points is a perfect score, and they actually scored higher than the perfect score, giving them their first not an underdog. We got it. Nice, final victory moment. Because I was beating them down for 2 full sessions. They were the underdog. I purposely set DCs high. I've thrown out some disadvantage rolls at the beginning, but I also let them know y'all guys are like the literal underdogs of this whole situation. Y'all are at the bottom of the totem pole. So it was really cool to see them literally completely destroy a lot of this stuff and really work together in a lot of cool ways. So that was awesome. The battle went super cool. The battle was super fun to do. I'll have a picture here that I can show you guys. I wonder how this shows again. Let's see how this looks on the thing. Hey, there we go. Good old 2D terrain from Dungeon Craft right there. Oh, let me go full screen on this. 2D terrain from Dungeon Craft. Had the battle map. I actually let the players put that down. I said, all right, here you go. I handed a marker to one player. I handed a blue marker to another player, and I handed the 2D terrain. And I was like, here we go. You can build the battle map, and I let them kind of put the pieces down, and it was kind of a cool, fun thing to do. I didn't have something super specific of I wanted to have this and that, so I gave them the freedom to create their own battlefield, which I thought was fun, and they got a kick out of. Something I do every once in a while. But the fight was super awesome. They were able to take out there was an artificer that had tech grenades. This was the 4 players are up against an artificer with tech grenades, a abjurative magic wizard, a rogue, super smooth, swim through the water type rogue, and a huge, basically barbarian with a big hammer that had a knockback thing to it. Those are the 4 people they went up against, and man, they dismantled one of them in the first round. Even with everything that I had going for it, I had some low rolls. They had some high ones for that first one. So what I did is I I upgraded some of the other of the three of them on the fly. Like, it's not going to be a cool final combat trial if I'm like, oh wow, you dismantled him, now it's 4 versus 3. Oh, you dismantled him, oh god, okay, well, I get, you guys won and y'all set a record. Does it feel like you set a record? No, you know what I mean? So once Oleander, the NPC artificer guy, went down, I upgraded some of the stuff. I'm definitely not pulling punches. I'm throwing out some of the layer actions more often. I'm trying to up some things. And I gave the rogue a super an ability that he attacked with advantage for something that made sense for him to attack with advantage of. So I'm looking for everything I can to try and really amp up this thing. To make sure they feel like whenever they win this thing, that feels good, you know, like, oh, a dungeon master behind the scenes. Like, I'm not cheating. I'm not doing any rolls. A lot of the rolls are rolled out in front of the open. But basically all of the abilities that I gave them, I just dialed to 10. Like, here we go. I'm not, I want this to be big and I want this to be bad and I want them to feel awesome about it. So, there's the setup. I had some, the rogue had this, basically layer action ability that, the group had, where he came out and he had this big attack on Darius the wizard. And if he got the attack off and it landed, he might have one shot him, because this is level 1, right? This is level 1. So I rolled it in the box of doom out in the middle of the open. It rolled a 4. He missed the attack. So that was a big moment, and they were able to kind of stay alive and kind of keep protecting each other. The rogue was trying to like go around, but they kept, you know, making sure to reinforce each other, cover each other's backs. They moved very smartly around the battlefield. Ivar saw some hallucinations and he started to start attacking the hallucinations, because that's part of his backstory. Let's watch that video for that. But then Darius started to call out for him to like, it's a fake, it's not a thing. And so they were able to kind of work together in some of these moments. And Clara, so the wizard, and which is really a warlock, so the warlock and the fighter were able to kind of work together on their part, and the artificer and the barbarian were able to work together on their part to kind of start taking people down. It whittled it on down to where he was left with just the final rogue standing, and they dismantled them. Really cool moment is one of the players got a, how do you want to do this? And when he said, how do you want to do this? He described that he, like, his vines that he did the killing blow with, pinned the person down and his allies finish him off. I thought that was really cool. I gave him inspiration for it, but that was a really cool moment to have a player say that their final moment of glory is the other two players finishing him off. I was like, dang, that's really awesome. That's really awesome. I've never seen that happen before. Gave him inspiration for it. Props. Smooth move, warlock. But this player shouldn't be watching this for till like long time in the future. So there's that. And then back to this now. We had the combat go through, and then now they got their magic items. They gave them a bunch of little super baby magic items. Little cool tactical type stuff that feel like an army kit type of stuff. A little bit of gold they got. I'm real stingy on gold, especially at the beginning, because then they got to earn that stuff. And then I gave them their whole quest log of what the quest briefing was. I gave them a bunch of quests. I want this to feel like a sandbox. They have a quest to go to an outpost that hasn't returned, hasn't sent any information back from the Tech Nation. They have a city at the edge of the Forest Nation that needs some help, and they haven't sent any supplies. They haven't heard from them as well. One of the players has a grandmother that he hasn't checked in on it for a while because he's been going through all this army stuff. The church in this location gave them a mission to take some supplies to Sanctuary, which is where the people meditate, which is where some sketchy stuff is going on. And they have to watch out for the Wanderers, because the Wanderers have a camp there that's kind of cutting off all the trade supplies. So if they can help with that could be a big problem. Finding people and survivors in certain dangerous sections that they're probably, and this one's a little bit out of their wheelhouse. They're too low level for this one, but I purposely wanted to give them problems that are like, yeah, you shouldn't do this one though. Like, so that they also feel that they are weak. They are not, they are just getting out into the world. And yeah, so I gave them pretty much 6 options, which is in a lot of times too much, but I know this group well enough, and I know that there's, I wanted to give that options because I wanted to feel, again, this specifically, I wanted it to feel like a battlefield. I wanted it to feel like a war zone. There's lots of stuff going on. Where you guys want to go? Where you guys want to be? You want to go to the forest? You want to go to help the Tech Nation? You want to go towards the Grassland Nation? You want to help the church? Which one you want to do? And I have stuff prepared in every direction for wherever they want to go, and I want them to feel in control of their choices, because if I put them on rails here in this world's nations at war type thing, and they just feel like they went down a storyline, and then they're not going to feel like they impacted this big, huge world. I want to see them go somewhere and make changes there. So I gave them free choice, gave them free reign in this little sandbox situation, making sure I was very clear with what the things were. And I want to see kind of where they go and let them own that decision of wherever they go off to next. And we'll pick up there in session 4, and we'll see where everything goes. Right now, I think what they've been said is they're going to go to the Forest Nation, the Green Haven, which is just a place at the edge of the Forest Nation, but they've been told very specifically, don't go into the forest. Don't do it. We'll see if they do, and if they do, that's going to be a whole can of worms there, because they have no idea what's going on. But that's the whole big picture. That's what all went down. That's kind of the flow of the session, so you can kind of see the pacing of all of that. I'm going to keep evolving these videos to kind of see where I go with how I'm describing the sessions and what you guys want to see best as far as that goes. I'm still brainstorming some stuff. I'm going to do some polls on my Patreon to see what kind of flow y'all want for these videos, because I love doing them. I want to give y'all, I'm hyped up. This helps me decompress down to be able to go to sleep, because I get so excited from playing. It's really hard to just go to bed, but then I have to wake up in the morning and school starts at, I gotta wake up 6. So here we go. Until next time, stay creative, think outside that box. Peace.